Under the full moon, a hidden CEO will unveil his incredible phoenix form, as a mother and child fight against the odds in the economically struggling town of Maplewood. Sarah woke just as the horizon painted itself with strokes of pink and gold, her heart heavy but steadfast. Each morning was a battle against exhaustion, but she had a fierce resolve. As she slid on her worn-out shoes, the echo of her late father's lessons rang clearly in her mind. Work hard and let your integrity shine. Those words were her armor. She stole a glance at the small room where Ethan slept, his dreams of a bright future nestled between old toys and hope. At the diner, the clatter of plates filled the air, a soundtrack to her tireless hustle. Regulars came and went, some offering kind smiles, while others whispered under their breath, "That poor single mother, they say. How will she ever give that boy a real chance?" But Sarah kept moving, juggling orders, laughter, and the weight of their judgment. She buried those thoughts beneath a practiced smile, squeezing in every last tip to save up for a pair of shoes Ethan had circled in a catalog weeks by late afternoon. She was scrubbing floors at the community center, the good old Maplewood gathering place, where laughter and banter intertwined with the scent of fresh pine. It was where the harvest festival would soon take place. Corn mazes, pie-eating contests, and the promised dance-offs were swirling in the air. Yet, even excitement felt tainted by the whispers of disdain that clung to her like a second skin. As Sarah wiped down the last countertop, she caught sight of Ethan racing outside, laughter ringing in the cool evening air, his cherubic features lit up like the moonlight reflecting off the nearby pond. Her heart swelled momentarily while a chill ran through her. The absence of her father felt sharper tonight. She craved to provide Ethan the opportunities he deserved, to keep the shadows at bay. But could she truly shield him? Under the full moon, a particularly strange evening unfolded in town as Lucas, the long-lost son of Maplewood, returned, cloaked in mystery. He'd been a bright star, shining in the tech industry, yet this homecoming was supposed to be simple nostalgia. As he ambled cautiously through the festival, he remained unlike the boy they once knew. Suddenly, Sarah's heart leapt as she saw Ethan rush toward a man amid a ruckus between the town's elite and promotion of their upcoming big corporation that threatened their cherished heritage. Lucas froze, taken aback by the boy's audacity. "Hey mister, you okay?" Ethan had a habit of reaching out to anyone in trouble, unaware of the significance of his gesture. As Lucas met his eyes, the sun-kissed innocence of the child struck a chord deep within him. In that split second, a connection formed, with laughter and shared dreams bursting between them like a chorus of stars on a dark night. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The festival went on, overflowing with joy, but in the air tension brewed. Lucas observed the bittersweet reality, the townsfolk clashing with their own biases and secrets. It became apparent that community unity needed to be ignited, yet fear shadowed their every step. As night unfolded, hearts were heavy with unsaid truths. Lucas stood at the center of a fragile web of hope and doubt. A choice loomed large: to reveal his identity and risk losing Ethan's friendship, or remain the stranger who had befriended a boy in need, hidden behind the gentle disguise of nostalgia. Ethan's wide eyes sparkled with anticipation, his heart beating wildly in sync with the pulsing full moon above. What awaited them in the shadows? Would they embrace connection or let old prejudices linger? Under the glowing vastness, the path transformed, leading them toward one undeniable truth: hope thrived in Maplewood for those brave enough to nurture it. Sarah watched the festival unfold with a blend of anxiety and lingering hope. The laughter of children echoed around her, but the shadow of doubt loomed larger with every passing minute. Lucas stood there, visible only from the corner of her eye, like a flame flickering beneath a candle. She could sense the tension between him and Ethan, a fragile thread connecting their futures. Ethan approached Lucas again, his sincerity bouncing off the walls of uncertainty. "You shouldn't be sad," he insisted, plucking at the fabric of Lucas's guarded heart. "It's a party. Come dance." The words sparked something deep within Lucas, an echo of childhood freedom he had long buried under layers of success and expectation. For a brief moment, the weight of his past began to lift. He knelt down to face Ethan. "You really think I can dance?" "Of course." Ethan's laughter rang out, infectious and pure. "Everyone can dance. You just have to let loose." Watching from a distance, Sarah's heart clenched at the joy radiating from her son. Yet the uncertainty of Lucas's secrets gnawed at her. What would happen to that joyful innocence once the truth came to light? As the faint sound of music floated through the air, Lucas looked around at the festival grounds, decorated with strings of warm lights and cheerful banners. He felt the tug of nostalgia. The carefree days of his childhood suddenly returned, and he longed to just blend in. But that longing collided painfully with the reality that he was not just Lucas, the village boy. He was a man cloaked in secrets and failure. "I don't know," he stuttered, hesitating. "Just feel it," Ethan urged, tugging excitedly at Lucas's hand. "Embark on a revelation or retreat into the shadows." The choice felt monumental. With every thumping beat of the music, the stakes rose higher. In that moment, surrounded by doubt and the warmth of community, Lucas made a decision. "All right," he said. "I guess I can give it a try." The child's joy acted as a spark, igniting courage that had lain dormant. Lucas stood once again, his formative years flashing before his eyes, friends forging connections, happiness swirling in that electrifying dance of life. The first notes of a jubilant tune filled the air, and he joined Ethan, bounding across the grass like he was still that carefree boy made of dreams. A swirl of excitement engulfed them as they danced amidst festival goers, laughter joining in a harmonious way with the music. The crowd stopped to watch, amusement transforming into surprise. Even the whispers of judgment faded, replaced with intrigue. But just as the joy reached its peak, reality struck. Several townspeople clustered together, murmuring with curious glances towards Lucas and Ethan. "What is he doing here?" One woman whispered sharply. "He's one of them," another voice trailed off. Those words pierced Lucas like arrows. The laughter faded momentarily, a chilling grip wrapping around him. Just as he began to embrace this moment as part of the community, the specter of his past loomed large. He looked down at Ethan, whose face still gleamed with delight, and a wave of guilt washed over him. Lucas started to step back, the shadows creeping in again. "Don't," Ethan whispered, sensing the shift in his friend. "You belong here." Sarah felt the pull of this moment as the crowd began to murmur louder. In a town teetering on the edge of tradition and change, what would it take to embrace a new identity? The crowd swayed, filled with confusion and curiosity. Would Lucas choose to reveal his true self in that critical moment? As hope and uncertainty collided, a quiet power brewed in the air. And so Sarah watched, heart racing, awaiting the choice that could change everything for her, for Ethan, and for Lucas. Would he rise as the phoenix he was meant to be, or retreat, allowing the shadows to win? A moment of truth lingered on the horizon, begging to be embraced. The music thudded in Lucas's chest, pulling him back in. He was aware of the crowd's gaze, sharp and judgmental. Each whispered word felt like a strike, each uncertain glance a judgment. They were all watching, their norms and traditions intertwined like the colorful ribbons fluttering around the festival. Yet, deep within him, something flickered, a whisper of defiance, a longing for acceptance. With Ethan's hand still gripping his, Lucas felt a warmth swell. "I belong here," he whispered, more to himself than to Ethan, as if saying it could make it true. Even if shadows loomed, they didn't have to define him. Slowly he began to sway to the music, letting the rhythm pump through his veins. Ethan grinned wider, pulling Lucas closer to the surrounding festival goers, who now watched with bated breath. Then, something remarkable happened. The murmurings of discontent softened, replaced by smiles and laughter as others began to join the dance. Children broke into spontaneous twirls, and couples mirrored each other's movements with playful abandon. Lucas could hardly believe it. As he danced alongside Ethan, he felt the tight knots of fear in his chest loosening. Over in the corner, Sarah couldn't tear her eyes away. With each twirl of Lucas, a pang of hope clashed against the cold reality of her fears. What would they think if they really knew him? Would they still accept him? The thought squeezed her heart, but she also recognized something beautiful unfolding. Lucas twirled with the ferocity of a boy reawakening. With every sway he seemed to shed layers of regret, insecurities drifting away with each beat of the drum. The laughter was contagious. "See? Told you," Ethan exclaimed, beaming. "This is freedom." Yet, just as swiftly as doubts had been washed away, a stronger voice emerged through the crowd. "Shame on him. He doesn't belong here." Those words snapped the joy in the air. The initial thrill faded just like a candle blunted by the wind, swirling over nourishment and lighting. Faces turned, brows furrowing with confusion, returning attention to Lucas as whispers escalated into a tide of judgment. Lucas felt his heart drop. The teasing spark he had ignited now flickered dangerously. He could almost feel the spotlight on him dim, the festival lights dimming in proximity to those stolen moments of acceptance. Panic set in. Was this all just a mirage? His breath quickened, and the echoes of his past rushed back, moments of isolation, of rejection. Ethan squeezed his hand. "You can't listen to them," he urged. "This is about you. You choose your path." With those words, a realization hit Lucas. He could either let the shadows overtake him or ignite a brighter flame. The flicker within him burned, pushing through the clouds of doubt. He turned to Ethan, knowing the truth had to be faced. "You're right," he breathed. "I won't hide anymore." The crowd was still watching, and Lucas straightened his back. With a deep breath he stepped forward, pushing that fear down. "I am Lucas," he declared, his voice shaking but resolute. "And I'm here to stay." Murmurs persisted, eyes widened in disbelief, but defiance bubbled inside him, energizing his spirit. As his heart raced, he felt the sickening weight of shame start to dissolve away. Just then, Sarah took a decisive step forward. "This is my son," she announced, her voice clear in the growing tension. "He deserves the same joy and love we all seek." The crowd gasped, confusion shifting like sand beneath their feet. Would they rally behind acceptance or cower in the face of change? All of a sudden, the air thick with anticipation shifted. Would this be the moment when community emerged, bridging the gap between judgment and acceptance? The atmosphere simmered with uncertainty, but amid that tension, the heartbeat of the festival pulsed louder. Lucas stood squarely in that tightrope between two worlds. The choice was unfolding. The next steps felt monumental, building not just upon his own fate, but the whole town's spirit. Would they rise to embrace evolution, or retreat into familiar darkness? In the throbbing silence, the crowd held its breath. What magic awaited as they stepped into the unknown? The silence hung like a thick fog, each heartbeat echoing the tension in Lucas's chest. He felt the warmth of Ethan's hand, steadying him amidst the chaos. The voices around them simmered, uncertainty weaving through like the vibrant colors of the festival. Would fear retreat, or would it claw its way back in? A few faces around him shifted, uncertainty fanning out like ripples in water. Lucas's eyes scanned the crowd, desperately searching for anyone who might stand with him. And then he saw it, a flicker of recognition in the face of an older woman near the front. She hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. It was slight, almost imperceptible, but the validation spread through him like a spark in dry grass. "Lucas," Ethan whispered, his grip tightening. "Keep going. You're not alone." Breathless, Lucas took another step forward, his voice growing stronger. "I won't pretend anymore. I want to dance, I want to live, and I want to be free." The last word rang out, hanging in the air like midnight fireworks. Some in the crowd exchanged glances, eyebrows lifting. The smug jeer from earlier faded, replaced by murmurs, curiosity peaked. Sarah felt her heart race, a thin line of courage forming in her chest. Could they do this? Could they reshape their town's heart? In that moment, Ethan began to sway again, arms wide, inviting. "Come on, dance with us," he shouted, the boldness in his voice contagious. The energy crackled and sparked, echoing the wild rhythms that had been left to simmer beneath the surface. One by one, the spectators began to move, hesitant at first, then more assured. A young girl stepped forward, her pigtails bouncing as she twirled into the circle, followed by her father, who threw caution to the wind and danced with her. The burden of judgment lifted slowly, the music charging through the crowd like a breath of fresh air. Lucas saw Sarah stepping forward next to him, her cheeks flushed but her resolve solid. "We all deserve joy," she called out, her honesty disarming. "So let us stop holding back." The spark turned into a flame. More people joined the dance, arms waving, laughter rising like shuttlecocks launched into the sky. Lucas felt his heart expand, pushing the shadows further away. He spun around, pressing deeper into the rhythm, riding the swell of acceptance that surged like a wave. But just as liberation seemed to crest, a deeper voice cut through a voice Lucas hadn't expected. Get back. This is not a place for someone like him. The hard, aggressive tone sent daggers through the once vibrant atmosphere. Ethan's smile faltered, and Lucas's heart sank. No, not now, he whispered, sensing the dark clouds inching back. Fear gripped him again, pushing down like an anchor. Yet he felt the pulse of the festival wrap around him, the laughter, the music. It bolstered him, heartening him to step towards that looming figure snarling in the crowd. Lucas squared his shoulders, reaching deep for the defiance that had flickered earlier. Why not? He called out, not backing down. Isn't it time for all of us to belong? To dance? A few heads turned, glancing from Lucas to the intimidating figure and then back, as if daring to consider his words. Lucas felt a unity he had never known, rising within the group, their resolve intertwining like the ribbons of color that surrounded them. Suddenly, a voice at the back of the crowd rose. Yeah, let him dance. A young man shouted. One by one, others began to echo, and the tide began to shift. With a renewed spirit, Lucas took a breath and started dancing again, drawing others into the joy. There was power in numbers. Together they were rising against judgment. The atmosphere thickened with hope. A new kind of music was forming. One filled with defiance, laughter, and the exhilarating possibility of acceptance. Would this be the moment when their little town transformed, or would they falter under the weight of tradition? Lucas's heart soared, knowing they were on the brink of something beautiful and life-changing. As the festival pulsed with renewed energy, he felt the future lay just beyond their grasp, waiting like a phoenix to take flight. What could come with the dawn of this new world? Hold their breath against the backdrop of shimmering lights and vibrant colors. Lucas could hardly believe his eyes. Each face in the crowd slowly transformed, uncertainty melting away, replaced by glimmers of acceptance and a unified spirit. They were all in this together, woven into a tapestry of shared dreams. Look, Sarah exclaimed, pointing at the robust man who had shouted moments before. He stood there, mouth agape, his intimidating demeanor faltering. The crowd's response was like a wave crashing against a rocky cliff, relentless and full of possibility. Let him dance. Someone echoed, and the calls spread like wildfire. The festival's heartbeat pulsed along with the rhythm, an anthem of courage rising into the night. Lucas felt the swell of energy lifting him, twirling into the embrace of the songs that filled the air. He locked eyes with Ethan, who was completely caught up in the euphoria. Together, their movements became an explosion of color and joy. They were no longer just fighting for acceptance. They were reveling in life itself, and it felt intoxicating. Can you feel it? Ethan shouted over the gathering noise, his eyes sparkling. Lucas nodded, the truth echoing within him. This wasn't just about breaking barriers, it was about creating a new reality, where joy was limitless, raw and fierce as the crowd danced. The young girl who had been the first to twirl spun back to Lucas beaming. Her pigtails bounced like a flag of freedom. Will you teach me? She asked, breathless and bright. Of course, Lucas said, pulling her into the circle. He twirled her around, laughter bubbling from both of them, bonded in that moment of pure exhilaration. He felt himself shining through her innocence, a mosaic of hope and light. Just then, the man who had launched the accusation stepped forward again, his voice now softer but still firm. What's the point? This doesn't change anything. Lucas opened his mouth to respond, but Sarah stepped up beside him. It changes everything. For you, for me, for all of us. Dance doesn't need a reason, it needs a heart. At her words, the man hesitated. A flicker of doubt crossed his face. Slowly, he raised his arms uncertainly, caught up in the infectious spirit of the crowd. Lucas watched as the dance began to reclaim him, bending the man's rigid posture just a fraction. One by one, the festival's vibrancy threatened to pull him in. The night air thrummed with energy. Lucas joined in once more, his body moving to the beats that spun through the air like vibrant ribbons. Suddenly he wasn't just dancing for acceptance, he was dancing for change. For new beginnings. For the magic that lay dormant in so many broken places. But just then, a loud crash shattered the joyful atmosphere. A table had toppled over, scattering drinks and dishes as the sound echoed through the night like thunder. The crowd froze, the joy instantly replaced by tension, eyes darting towards the source. What just happened? Ethan whispered, uncertainty creeping back in. The weight of fear felt palpable, thickening like a fog. Lucas felt his heart pound again, dread creeping into the crevices of their newfound joy. We can't stop now, he said, steeling himself. We have to keep going. But as the drinks spilled and the party paused, would they find the strength to carry on? Or would the shadows return to snuff out their moment of freedom? As the crowd began to murmur, Lucas knew this was just the beginning, and he stood on the edge of something transformative. Would they rise above the chaos that threatened to unravel them? Or would they falter, letting fear seep back into their lives? He had to know. The moment hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. Glass shards glinted like stars on the dance floor, a stark reminder that joy can be as fragile as it is powerful. Lucas's heart raced, not just with fear but with the urgency of the moment. Stay close, he shouted to Ethan and Sarah, his voice slicing through the murmur of the crowd. What's happening? Sarah asked, scanning the faces around them. The joy was fading fast, woven into the tension creeping like kudzu. Lucas shook his head, refusing to give in to the unease that settled over them. The man who had once shouted accusation stood paralyzed, his expression caught between rigidity and uncertainty. Lucas's voice broke through the palpable silence, coaxing the crowd back. Everyone, this isn't over. Let's not let a moment of chaos steal our joy. As if summoned by his words, a drumbeat thudded out from somewhere in the festival, steady and insistent. Lucas felt the rhythm ripple through the crowd, a tangible force. Slowly, like a seed bursting through the surface, people began to move again, some swaying tentatively, others already lost in the music. Then he saw her, the young girl with the bouncing pigtails, her eyes wide with a mix of worry and excitement. Will you dance with me again? She called out, grasping his hand with both of hers, her spirit unbroken. Without a moment's hesitation, Lucas nodded. Yes, let us dance. He pulled her close, spinning her into the celebration. The laughter that erupted not only from her but from those around them felt like a lifeline thrown into the storm. Ethan joined them, and soon the three of them were a whirlwind of energy, twirling beneath the moonlight, melting the shadows encroaching on their joy. The man watched them, shifting uncertainly from one foot to the other. Finally, the man took a tentative step forward, breaking away from the weight of doubt. The allure of the rhythm beckoned, and Lucas saw it, the internal battle on the man's face. The hesitation mixed with desperate hope. Come on, just let it go, he shouted. With that, the man broke into a hesitant step, then another, his movements mistrusting yet sincere. The crowd, sensing the change, cheered him on. Dance! Someone called out. The man's expression began to shift, the line between fear and joy blurring with every beat. For Lucas, it felt like a clarion call. He smiled as he kept moving, surrounding the man with energy and light. The atmosphere started to pulse again. They could feel the unity, a resurrection of the spirit that had driven them to dance in the first place. Suddenly, the disaster of the toppled table felt far away. Laughter mingled with music again as people lost themselves to the pulse of the festival. Lucas's soul soared, knowing that sometimes the brightest moments are born from chaos. But just then, another loud noise rang out, a shriek from the edge of the festival grounds. Faces turned in shock, the joyous trance suddenly fractured. As the crowd exchanged worried glances, Lucas felt the thrill of triumph beginning to slip away, replaced with an all-too-familiar unease. What now? Ethan asked, gripping Lucas's arm. Lucas's heart raced once more. He wanted to shut out the fear, to push the shadows away. But something felt amiss, more than an accident or a mere scare. As the unease twisted in his gut, he knew they had to confront whatever lay ahead. Would they be able to hold on to the joy they had fought to reclaim? Or were they about to face a challenge that could shake the very foundation of their newfound unity? Lucas's breath hitched in his throat. The energy from the dance floor felt like electricity coursing through him, but now it was interrupted by that piercing scream, a sound that echoed the fear crackling in the air. The joyful atmosphere twisted, faces of delight shifting into masks of concern. It was as if the vivid colors around him were dimming, leaving only murky shades of anxiety. Sarah," Lucas whispered urgently as they huddled closer, every instinct telling him they needed to get to the source of the sound. "Let us check it out. Stay together." The three of them maneuvered through the crowd, weaving between people who were still reeling from the sudden change in mood. The drumming continued, but it felt hollow now. Lucas kept his eyes focused straight ahead, seeking the origin of the chaos. As they moved closer, the crowd parted reluctantly, revealing a small gathering of people clustered near a booth. A woman kneeled on the ground, cradling a little boy in her arms. His face was pale, eyes wide and frightened, and Lucas's heart sank as he approached. The mother was murmuring reassurances, but the tremor in her voice told a different story. "What happened?" Lucas asked, his tone firm yet gentle, wanting to invade their troubled moment but knowing they needed help. He fell," the mother stammered, casting a quick, desperate look at Lucas. "I don't know how, but he hit his head." He's not responding. Lucas's pulse quickened as he knelt by the boy, grasping his small hand. "Hey buddy, can you hear me? You're going to be okay, just hold on." His voice was calm, but inside panic kicked up like wildfire. He had no training in medical emergencies, no idea what to do, except to reassure. Ethan followed his lead, kneeling beside Lucas. "Can someone call for help?" he shouted into the crowd. "We need an ambulance." Tension gripped the onlookers, who exchanged worried glances. Some began to pull out their phones, the urgency triggering a wave of action. "Stay with us, kiddo," Sarah chimed in, brushing strands of hair off the boy's forehead. Her voice was soft, soothing, but the worry etched on her face spoke volumes. Lucas felt a responsibility growing in his chest. Maybe this was different from reclaiming joy on the dance floor. Maybe joy here was found in holding each other together, even through fear. Just then, a deep voice erupted from the edge of the gathering. "I'm a doctor." The crowd parted once more as a grim-faced man with a calm urgency pushed through, moving toward the boy. His presence pulled everyone's focus, as if he was a beacon in the storm. Relief surged through Lucas, but there was still fear. What if it wasn't he enough? He stood up, letting the doctor take charge, but his heart was pounding with questions. Around him, strangers began to form a circle, leaning in closer. The festival, once a place of dancing and light, had morphed into a scene of raw uncertainty. What had started as a night of joy had been punctured by this sudden moment of fear. Yet there was something powerful in this togetherness. As the doctor assessed the situation, Lucas felt the weight of the crowd's anticipation, their collective hope and worry. Would they witness a miracle today? Would that tiny heartbeat keep beating strong? He gripped Ethan and Sarah's hands tightly, sweat forming on his brow. And just as the doctor looked up, the boy's eyes flickered open, and everyone collectively inhaled, almost suspended in time. Then a familiar voice broke through the air, stark and unexpected. "What kind of festival are you running here?" It was the man from earlier, voice rising over the crowd, an accusation ringing in his tone. All eyes turned toward him. Lucas's heart dropped. Was this man now going to further disrupt everything they were fighting to preserve? Lucas's stomach twisted at the man's accusation. It felt out of place, as if a storm had rolled in during a sunny picnic. Who was this guy? Didn't he belong here, especially now, when everyone was so focused on saving the boy? "Sir, please." Lucas's voice broke through the tension. "This is a serious situation. We have to focus on him." He nodded towards the boy, now briefly awake. "He needs more help." The man scoffed. "Help? You're all just standing around while there's chaos. Where's the safety? This is supposed to be a celebration." He gestured wildly, his eyes bored into the onlookers, challenging anyone to disagree. Lucas stepped forward, his heart thumping in his chest. "We're all trying to help. You can make a difference too. If you really care, maybe you could lend a hand instead of pointing fingers?" For a moment the man only stared, surprise flickering across his face. Then in a surprising twist he blinked as if coming back into focus. "Right, but is anyone actually calling for help?" "Yes. A doctor is here," Ethan called out, his voice steady. "And people are on their phones." He pointed to a cluster of festival goers leaning in, all eyes on the boy, hoping for signs of recovery. The man's demeanor shifted slightly, as if he realized that perhaps he misjudged the scene. But just when Lucas thought they might find common ground, the man's brows knitted together again. I don't care who's calling for help. I just want this festival to be safe. Too much is at stake. How could he not feel it? The sensation rippled through the crowd. A unity that hadn't existed moments before was forming. A fragile cocoon of shared concern and collective hope. Lucas couldn't help but feel the urgency and the importance of the moment. He turned to the doctor, who calmly began applying pressure to the boy's head. The crowd fell silent. The only sound now was the doctor's calm voice giving instructions. Everyone clear some space. We need to get him comfortable until the ambulance arrives. Lucas stayed at the boy's side, refusing to break away from that soft grip of trust. He could feel the collective breath of the other festival goers, almost as if their souls were intertwined in this shared drama. Stay strong, kid. You're doing great, he whispered, and then, as if the universe was holding its breath with them, the little boy managed a faint nod, eyes wide yet resolute. Lucas couldn't help but feel a surge of hope surge through him. But just then, a noise filled the air, a siren wailing in the distance. Relief washed over Lucas like a wave. In a matter of minutes help would arrive. But the man wasn't done. He pointed a finger accusingly at the crowd. Are you all okay with this kind of negligence? We can't keep dancing while children are at risk. His voice rose again, gaining power as he garnered agreement from an increasingly agitated portion of the onlookers. Lucas faced the man, heat rising in him. We're not just dancing. We're here for each other. We're trying to make things better. At that moment he realized that this wasn't just about the little boy. It was about the way their community could respond in crisis. Would they let fear tear them apart, or could they come together, even in the face of anger? Before he could voice these thoughts, the doctor looked back at them, his voice low but firm. Folks, the ambulance will take a few minutes. We need to stay focused and calm. This is not a time for anger. As he spoke, the boy stirred a little more, plucking at the world that had nearly slipped from his fingers. Lucas felt a shift in the crowd, as emotions tangled together. Some started to murmur words of encouragement, others visibly softened, but still, the confrontation with the angry man lingered in the air. An unexpected tension. Would the division grow stronger, or could something new emerge from this pressure? Lucas glanced back at Ethan and Sarah, sensing their uncertainty. The festival had transformed, and with it, so had the people gathered. In that charged atmosphere, Lucas realized the next steps were crucial. He had to grasp this fragile connection with the crowd. You guys, he started, raising his voice above the whispering crowd. We all came here thinking it was just about joy and celebration. But this is it. Responsibility connects us. We can't ignore that. What would happen next? Would they all unite or break apart under the strain of raw emotion? He felt the weight of their collective hopes and fears on his shoulders, and he didn't know if he could carry them alone. The siren grew louder, but before help could arrive, the angry man stepped forward, a challenge glinting in his eyes. Let us see if you can change minds then. Show me. Lucas's heart raced. How could he change everything in a moment that mattered so much? Would he succeed or fail before the crowd that watched tightly? The festival felt like it teetered on a knife's edge, and he needed something powerful to tip it in the right direction. How would he rise to this challenge? Lucas took a deep breath, steadying himself as the crowd's quiet anticipation buzzed around him. This was a moment that could either bring them together or pull them apart. He could feel eyes trained on him, some filled with skepticism, others with hope. He glanced at the boy, still fighting to stay present, and a swell of determination rose within him. I get it, he began, his voice steady yet infused with urgency. We're scared. This isn't what we came here for. We wanted joy, laughter, and music, not this. He motioned toward the boy, his heart aching for him. But if we turn our backs on each other now, we lose sight of what really matters. This festival is about community, about being there for one another. The man stepped closer, arms crossed defiantly. And what does that mean when a child's life is at stake? Do you think that just because we're together it makes it okay? No, Lucas replied, holding his gaze. But it gives us the strength to make it right. Look around you. We've lost the spirit of this place if we let anger and fear rule our hearts. Let us channel that energy into support. Let us be the village this boy needs. People began to shift on their feet, exchanging glances. Was it enough? Had he planted the seeds of change? A mother stepped forward, clutching her daughter's hand, her eyes glistening. Yes, right. We can't allow chaos to win. We need to care for each other. If we can lean into our fear and transform it into action, we can do something. Her words struck a chord. A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd, their collective breaths catching in solidarity. Lucas could feel the tension lessen, if only a little. A few more voices joined in. We can help. Let us rally. What do we need to do? Encouraged, Lucas planted his feet firmly. Let us take turns spreading the word. We can watch over the boy until help arrives. Let us create a safe space, unite our strength as a community. He pointed towards the nearest tent, a brightly colored array sheltering happy families moments before panic erupted. Let us set up an area where we can gather our resources, keep the boy calm, and make sure everyone sees someone cares. The man, though still crossing his arms, lowered his gaze. He seemed conflicted, as if wrestling with the idea that he could stand for something positive. Around them, people began to move, some forming small groups to direct traffic, others rushing to gather blankets and water. The doctor nodded appreciatively at Lucas, taking charge of the boy's condition with renewed energy, guiding bystanders in medical support. And this surge of collective spirit, Lucas felt a sense of belonging wash over him. It was special, a reminder of what it meant to be part of something greater. With each passing moment, the festival fused with a sense of purpose that had absent before. But just then, a loud crack echoed through the night, cutting through their efforts. An unexpected boom from the festival's far end sent a jolt through the crowd, halting all movement. Murmurs of anxiety resurfaced, and faces turned pale with uncertainty. Lucas spun around, his heart racing once again. What was that? He shouted, scanning for explanations among the nervous crowd. Fear and dread hit him like a freight train. Had they really momentarily united only to face another crisis? Could he navigate this new threat? Or would the fragile connection they had built unravel? The air thickened with tension, a heavy reminder that hope was volatile in these moments. Lucas swallowed hard, knowing he must act fast. He raised his voice, cutting through the sudden silence. Everyone, keep focused, we're still in this together. We need to stay calm and see what's happening. Could he keep them united? Could they transform fear back into action? Anxiety coursed through him, but Lucas held on to the belief that they had just begun to fight for something bigger than themselves, and he would not let it go so easily. As shadows danced behind the fading lights of the festival, he felt a pull inside, urging him forward. The real challenge was only just beginning. The sound of the crack echoed in the tense silence, the crowd holding its collective breath. But just as fear began to claw back in, Lucas's voice sliced through, clear and resolute. We've come too far to let this shake our spirit. Remember why we're here. He could feel the weight of their gazes, a mixture of anxiety and determination that lifted him higher. Ethan grasped his hand tightly. We can do this. We're a team. His tiny voice sounded like a battle cry in the current of chaos. All at once, a flicker of light appeared at the edge of the crowd. A waving flag made of shimmering fabric caught on the breeze, flowing like a banner of hope. In that moment, a group of kids rushed in, brandishing instruments, some drumsticks, others pot lids. They began beating out an improvised rhythm, and like magic, the atmosphere shifted. The haunting sound of fear began to fade, replaced by the infectious beat that pulsed through the air like life itself. One by one, people began to clap, their hands finding unity within the vibrant rhythm. The festival spirit carefully crept back, crackling in the air. The shadows from earlier dissipated as those frightened faces lit up in sheer joy. They danced around the doctor, surrounding him with warmth and light, keeping the energy flowing while attending to the little boy. What's happening over there? Whispered someone from the crowd. Unable to contain his excitement, Ethan jumped up and shouted, We're bringing back the celebration. With each beat, barriers seemed to crumble, and the festival regained its heartbeat. The angry man watched from the back, confusion and curiosity swirling on his features. He saw the laughter, the smiles, and felt the warmth radiating from the circle of unity. For the first time, the connection between the people filled the gaps left by anger and skepticism. Lucas smiled at Ethan and then turned to the crowd. This is our town. We're all in this together. He stepped closer to the doctor, who nodded in encouragement, assuring them that the boy continued to respond to their efforts. As the drumbeat grew louder, people began to share their stories of loss, of hope, and of community. With every tale, the oppressive weight of negativity began to lift. The festival hadn't faded, it had transformed. One by one, those once hesitant began to move forth, bringing food and blankets, lighting candles and sharing laughter as they gathered closer to support the doctor. Together they created a canopy of color and warmth, a small sanctuary reminding them all why they had come together in the first place. "Let the music guide us," a voice called, breaking through the din. The crowd fell silent, sharing knowing glances, then erupted into a spontaneous chorus, harmonizing in that vibrant moment. And then, like a hand reaching out from darkness, the little boy stirred, blinking as the sound pierced through his clouded senses. "Mom," he whispered. The mother's heart swelled as their eyes locked. "I'm right here, sweetheart. You're safe." At that moment, a powerful wave of understanding swept across the group, binding them tightly together. They were not just a collection of individuals. They were a family united in love and resilience. The sirens finally approached, signaling hope was coming, but Lucas knew their transformation had already begun. They had turned moments of fear into something sacred and beautiful, a realization that together, they could overcome anything. As the ambulance pulled up, the doctor assured the mother they had done everything right. The swirling crowd was no longer a mass of uncertainty, but a community that had fought through chaos to rebuild hope. Lucas turned to the man who had first sparked doubt in their unity. The man's expression softened, though uncertainty still lingered. I see it now," he stuttered, finally recognizing the strength that had formed amidst all the noise. "Maybe I've been looking at this wrong." "Change takes courage," Lucas replied gently, meeting his gaze firmly. "It's never too late to choose acceptance over anger." As the crowd moved aside for the paramedics to take over, Lucas felt a new warmth, the excitement of boundless possibilities wash over him. Ethan, looking up at him with awe, declared, "We did it. We brought everyone back together." Laughter bubbled up, sparking with joy, and the music became a triumphant anthem. They had turned a fearful evening into an unforgettable festival of hope, acceptance, and unity. And now, under the glowing embrace of the moonlight, Lucas understood what it truly meant to rise like a phoenix. Amid the depths of darkness, they had found their wings, and in that moment of collective joy, he felt an urgency inside him. "This is just the beginning," Lucas announced, raising his voice over the jubilant noise. "Let us keep building this community. Let us hold on to each other, even when it's tough." As smiles broke across faces, he realized that he was no longer the boy burdened by his past. He was not just Lucas anymore. He was a brother, a friend, a part of something magnificent. Maplewood was more than just a town. It was their home, and wherever they went from here, they'd face it together. Now, as the festival reached its peak, the shimmering lights reflected their choices, a shared transformation encompassing hope, love, and unwavering connection. They would embrace futures filled with endless stories and laughter. They were together. And just like that, Lucas spread his arms wide, inviting everyone to dance once more, united under the shimmering stars of their reborn spirits. Before the night slipped away, he knew this moment was precious, and he couldn't wait to see what came next. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the amazing stories ahead. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. The power is in your hands. Comment below your feelings about this incredible transformation and how we can continue building our community. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see that transformation too. Let us spread the love and acceptance.